The morning sky on planet Obaria was a soft silver, with thin clouds floating like mist. The ground was quiet. Nothing moved except a few glowing plants swaying in the breeze. But then, a loud humming sound broke the silence. A patrol drone stopped. In midair, its red light blinked faster. It had found something strange. Captain Voro of the Royal Guard arrived first. He stepped closer to the crater and looked down. There, lying at the center of the deep pit, was a human, a real human. No human had ever been seen this far into the Obari Empire, and none could survive this planet's thick, electric air. But this one was still breathing. His clothes were torn. His face was pale. A long, bright mark ran across his chest. He was unconscious, but alive. Voro called it in. "He's not from here," he said, voice low. "He shouldn't be alive." News traveled fast. Within an hour, a golden ship landed. The guards stood straight. The queen had arrived. Queen Soraya stepped out slowly. Her long blue robe flowed behind her. She was calm, quiet, but her bright eyes were sharp. She had ruled for 30 years, and she had never seen anything like this. She walked past the guards and looked down at the human. She said nothing for a while, just stared at the strange being lying in the dust. Then she stepped closer. One of her advisors moved forward. "Your Highness, it's not safe," but she raised her hand. She knelt beside the human and looked at the mark on his chest. Her hand hovered above it, as if she could feel something strange in the air around him. Then her lips parted, and she whispered, "No human should survive that." The wind was still. The guards didn't move. Something about the moment felt heavy. Seraya stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving the human's face. "Bring him to the healing chamber," she said, "and keep him guarded at all times." He was taken gently, with care, as if touching something rare and powerful. Machines scanned him. Lights blinked, and alien doctors whispered in hushed voices. He was different. His skin was warm, but his blood moved slowly. His heart was strong, but his cells were doing something strange, like they were learning. Inside the Queen's palace, scientists gathered. The data made no sense. The human body should not have survived the energy storm from last night. And yet, here he was alive, stable, and slowly waking up. Queen Soraya stood behind a glass wall. Watching, she folded her arms deep in thought. There were stories from long ago, stories about humans who came from the stars, who changed things, who woke up powers that had been sleeping for centuries. One of the scientists spoke. "Your Majesty, he's healing, faster than expected. But it's not just healing, it's like adapting." Soraya narrowed her eyes. "He's becoming something new." The scientist nodded slowly. Maybe, or maybe he already was. Later that night, the human opened his eyes. The lights above him were soft. He blinked slowly. His breathing was calm, but his mind was full of questions. Where was he? What had happened? A soft voice came from the corner. "You're awake." He turned his head and saw her, the queen. She stood still, hands behind her back. He tried to sit up, but his body felt heavy. "You don't need to speak," she said. "Not yet." He looked around the strange room. Everything glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled clean, but different, like metal and flowers. "What is your name?" she asked. The human opened his mouth. "Eli," he said weakly. She nodded. "I am Queen Soraya." He stared at her, confused. "Where am I?" "You are in the capital city of Obaria. You crashed here, or perhaps you were sent." He looked down at his chest. The mark was still there, but it didn't hurt. It shimmered faintly in the light. "I don't remember," he whispered. The queen tilted her head. "Do you remember who you are?" He hesitated. "I'm human." "I think. You don't sound sure." He smiled slightly. "I don't feel sure." The queen stepped closer. Her voice became softer. "You survived something no human should survive. That makes you important. Maybe even dangerous." Eli looked into her eyes. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Soraya didn't reply right away. She studied him. Then she said, "We will see. For now, rest." She turned to leave. But before she walked out, she paused. "You are not supposed to be alive," she said again. "But you are, and that changes everything." The door closed. Behind her, Eli stared at the ceiling. He didn't know where he was from, or why he was here. But deep inside, something was waking up. Something old. Something powerful. And far away, in the heart of the palace, a quiet machine began to glow for the first time in 1,000 years. A soft humming sound filled the royal healing chamber. Strange lights moved across the walls, changing color every few seconds. The air smelled clean, almost as clean like a place untouched by time. Eli opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the soft glow. He sat up, confused but calmer now. He wasn't in a hospital. He wasn't even on Earth. He looked down at his chest. The strange mark was still there, glowing faintly like warm gold under his skin. It didn't hurt, but it didn't feel normal either. A gentle voice spoke. "You're healing faster than anything we've seen before." Eli turned his head. Queen Soraya stood behind a clear barrier, her eyes focused, curious, but not unkind. "I feel different," he said softly. "That's because you are," she answered. Eli looked away. "I don't remember how I got here." Soraya walked closer to the glass. "Perhaps your memory will return, but your body already remembers." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to a nearby console. With a wave of her hand, a floating screen appeared, showing glowing red and blue shapes. "That's your blood," she said quietly. "It's changing." Eli stepped closer to the glass. The shapes were moving, slowly shifting color, growing brighter. "It's adapting to our world," Soraya said, "learning our energy, accepting it, like it was always meant to." "That's not possible," Eli whispered. "And yet," she replied, "it is happening." The scientists entered, moving slowly, carefully. They whispered among themselves but kept looking at Eli, with wonder in their eyes. One of them, older and wise, stood beside Soraya and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, there is something else. His body is not reacting like a normal human. His cells, they hold something hidden, something old." The queen looked at the data again. Her face didn't change, but her eyes became still. "There's a legend," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "A story told by starlight." Eli tilted his head. "A legend?" She nodded. "Long ago, it was said a being would come from the stars, not fully alien, not fully human, something in between. That being would carry a light that could awaken what was lost." Eli stared at her. "You think that's me?" "I don't know," she said honestly. "But your arrival was not random. The storm last night was not natural. And the weapon, it's glowing again." Eli blinked. "What weapon?" Soraya paused, then gave a small nod to her guards. "He's stable. Let him see." Two guards led Eli through long crystal halls. The walls sparkled with living light, pulsing gently like breath. Eli walked slowly, unsure if he should trust his steps. They reached a tall door, locked with symbols he didn't understand. As the queen stepped forward, the symbols glowed and vanished. The door slid open silently. Inside the chamber, everything was silent. The room was round, with a smooth floor and a single object in the center floating, untouched, glowing faintly like a sleeping star. It was shaped like a heart, but made of crystal and silver light. Energy moved inside it, slow and alive. "That is the heart of stars," Soraya said. "It has not moved in 1,000 years, until last night." Eli stepped closer. He felt a strange pull, like it was calling him not with sound, but with feeling. Without thinking, he reached out. The guards tensed, but Soraya raised her hand. "Let him." His fingers stopped just short of the floating object. And then it pulsed. A warm light flowed from the heart of stars, gentle and golden. The whole room lit up like a sunrise. It reacted to him, one scientist whispered. "No one else could touch it," said another. Eli pulled his hand back. He looked at the queen. "What does this mean?" Soraya looked at him, not as a stranger now but something more, something unexpected. "I think it means," she said slowly, "that the past is waking up, and you are the key." Eli didn't know what to say. He looked again at the glowing heart. It felt familiar, like he had seen it before, in a dream or a memory that wasn't his. Far above them, the sky changed. The stars shifted slightly. A signal went out, a silent message into deep space. And somewhere, far beyond Obaria. Something answered, but no one knew it yet. Eli touched his chest again. The golden light under his skin pulsed once, quietly, and the queen watched him, her voice silent, but her thoughts loud. Who are you, really? The sky over Obaria slowly shifted from silver to soft lavender. Strange birds with glowing wings flew silently over the palace. Down below, Eli stood near a wide glass window, looking at the alien world stretching beyond the mountains. The sky had two suns. The land had no cities like Earth. Everything felt ancient, yet alive. Eli placed his hand on the smooth surface of the window. A soft pulse ran through his fingers like the palace itself was aware of him. He was not alone in the room. Queen Soraya sat quietly behind him, reading something from a floating screen. She had spent hours watching his movements, his reactions, and now his silence. You slept well, she said. Eli didn't turn around. I don't know if I slept or dreamed. She tilted her head slightly. What did you see? He closed his eyes. Flashes, lights, stars falling. And you. Her eyes narrowed, just a little. Me? He nodded slowly. You were standing in fire, and you looked at me like you knew me. But I didn't know you. Soraya stood and walked to his side. There are stories passed down among my people. Some speak of a human who comes through light and dream, a visitor who brings change. Eli looked at her, uncertain. But I don't remember who I am. I only know my name. I don't know my family, my past, nothing. Soraya placed her hands behind her back. Sometimes the mind forgets what the body remembers. Eli turned to her. What do you mean? She stepped toward a glowing crystal panel on the wall and placed her hand on it. The light turned blue. A new room opened beyond the wall. Come, she said gently. Eli followed her into a quiet chamber filled with soft light. In the center was a round table with small stones floating above it. They moved slowly, showing tiny stars and planets like a model of the galaxy. This is your memory, Soraya said. Or perhaps, what is hidden in your memory? The floating stones changed shape. A star turned dark. A planet broke into light. A figure appeared very small but glowing, just like Ellie's chest. Eli watched closely. The figure had no face, but he somehow knew it was him. This is from the heart of stars. Soraya explained. When you touched it, it unlocked something. A message, a shadow of time. Eli stepped closer to the floating image. I've been here before, he said without thinking. Not this palace, but somewhere like it. Soraya nodded. You speak as if it's true, but your memory says otherwise. I feel it. Eli whispered, like a song I used to. No, like something is calling me back. The stones changed again. A new figure appeared. It looked like Soraya but younger, with a crown made of starlight. Eli turned to her. Is that you? Soraya's voice was quiet. I don't know. Perhaps it is. Or perhaps it's someone from long ago who looked like me. Eli watched the two figures in the light, him and her standing side by side, looking toward something unknown. The image faded. Soraya spoke again, her tone calm but heavy. You may not be just a visitor. You may be a return. A return from what? He asked. That is what we must find out, she replied. Your body carries knowledge. Your blood reacts to our energy. And now the heart of stars responds to you. These are not small things. Eli took a deep breath. But what if I'm not ready for what's inside me? Then we go slowly, Soraya said gently. And I stay beside you. They stood in silence for a while. The chamber lights dimmed as the second sun passed behind the mountains. The stars above became visible, filling the glass ceiling like tiny silver eyes. Eli pointed toward one. That star, it feels familiar. Soraya looked up. It's called Reveler, a forgotten system. Quiet for thousands of years. I think I've been there, Eli said. In my dream. The queen looked at him. Then maybe your dream is a memory. Later that night, Eli rested in his chamber. But sleep did not come easy. He kept seeing that same star. He kept hearing soft voices, whispers in a language he didn't learn, but could somehow understand. He saw shadows of cities in the sky, beings of light, and always the same figure, Soraya, standing at the center of it all, reaching toward him. He woke with a start. He sat up. The mark on his chest glowed brighter. For a moment, It felt like it was guiding him somewhere. He stood and placed his hand on the wall. The wall responded, sliding open silently. The palace wasn't just a building. It was something more, something living. He followed the soft light down the empty hallway. No guards, no scientists, just him and the strange, living glow. He walked until he reached the central hall again. The heart of stars floated silently. This time, it spoke, not with sound but with feeling. A soft warmth entered his chest. A word formed in his mind: awaken. Behind him, Queen Soraya stood in the shadows, watching. She whispered to herself, "The galaxy remembers you, even if you do not." The wind across the palace rooftops was quiet, like a song too soft to hear. Obaria's twin moons floated high in the sky, casting silver light across the towers. Inside the great hall, the heart of stars continued to glow, calm but alive. Eli stood before it, his hands still warm from the energy it gave him the night before. He could feel it pulsing in his chest now, like it was part of him. Queen Soraya entered the chamber, her long robe flowing gently behind her. She said nothing. At first, she only watched him, studying the quiet expression on his face. "You've returned to it," she said softly. Eli nodded. "It called me again. I don't know how I understand it, but I do." She stepped beside him. "This was once a great power, but now it waits for something only you seem to carry." Eli looked at her. "I didn't ask for any of this." Soraya gave a small smile. "True power never asks to be found. It finds you when you're not ready. And then, it teaches you who you really are." They walked slowly through the glowing corridor beyond the chamber. The walls shimmered with patterns that moved like water. Symbols lit up as they passed, responding to Ellie's presence. "They only do this for members of my bloodline," Soraya said, almost to herself. Eli looked at the symbols, unsure. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said carefully, "you may be closer to us than anyone imagined." Further ahead, a door opened on its own. Behind it was a hidden room, one even Soraya had never entered. Inside was a small platform, floating just above the ground. At its center was a silver object. It looked like a bracelet, but it held energy that made the air shimmer round it. "What is that?" Eli asked. Soraya stepped forward. "It's a relic from the old days. No one has been able to activate it. Not even me." Eli took a careful step forward. The bracelet turned slightly, as if it sensed him. Without thinking, he reached out. The object lifted into the air and circled slowly toward his arm. It attached itself without force. A soft light spread from it, running across Ellie's skin in glowing lines. It didn't feel heavy. It felt right. The queen stared in silence. "It's like it knows me," Eli said, amazed. "Then perhaps you are part of its history." Soraya replied. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the chamber. A soft chime. A new energy filled the air. From the bracelet, a tiny light appeared, floating between Eli and the queen. It shaped itself into a symbol neither had seen before. And then it changed into a map. Soraya stepped closer. "That's not from our galaxy." Eli felt something shift inside him. "But I've seen it. In my dreams." The map showed a pathway through the stars, ending at a place marked by a single point of golden light. "It's calling you there," Soraya whispered. Eli looked at the queen. "What is this place?" "We don't know," she said. "No ship has ever traveled that far. We believed it to be lost or locked away." Eli stared at the golden point. "Maybe it's my past, or maybe it's where I begin." Soraya placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "You are not alone in this." He looked at her. "Why are you helping me?" Her voice was quiet. "Because I see something in you. Something I've only felt once before in the ancient stories." Outside the chamber, footsteps approached. A royal advisor entered, looking slightly uneasy. "My queen," he said. "The council is gathering. They have seen the recordings. They know the human has touched the heart." Soraya nodded. "Let them wait. He's not finished here." The advisor hesitated. "They believe he is dangerous." Eli looked down. "I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't come here to cause fear." The queen stepped in front of him. "Fear is born from ignorance. They don't understand you. Not yet. But I do." A soft silence followed. Eli looked once more at the map. then back at the queen. "Do you trust me?" he asked. Saraya's answer came without pause. "Yes, I do." The bracelet glowed brighter, and the symbol on it shifted into the same golden star. Behind them, the floating map faded, but its path remained inside both their minds. Something greater was beginning, something neither of them could stop now. As they left the chamber, the walls behind them gently dimmed, returning to silence. But deep inside the palace, something else was waking up. Not a machine, not a weapon, but a memory long buried, now rising. The sky above Obaria was darker than usual. Thick clouds moved slowly, hiding the twin moons. The stars, usually bright and clear, were now hidden behind a strange silence. Something in the air had changed, and the palace felt it too. Inside the royal chamber, Queen Saraya stood near the tall glass window, her hands folded behind her. She watched the sky in deep thought. Behind her, Eli entered quietly, his steps light. He had felt it to the shift, the stillness, the kind of silence that didn't come from peace, but from something waiting. "I saw the lights go dim in the upper towers," Eli said softly. "Is everything all right?" Saraya didn't turn around. "The systems are reacting to something near. Is it the place from the star map?" She finally looked at him. "No, it's closer than that. Something or someone is here, and they know you're with me." Eli felt a cold thought in his chest. "You think they're watching?" "I know they are," she replied, "and I fear they do not come in peace." He stepped closer. "What will you do?" Saraya looked at him with calm eyes. "What I must. But first, you need to see something." She led him through the quiet hallways of the inner palace, places even most guards had never walked. As they moved deeper, the air grew warmer. Lights lit up at their presence. The path ended at a large circular room. In the center was a tall column of glass filled with floating memory crystals. Each one held stories, images, voices from centuries ago. Saraya waved her hand, and one of the crystals floated toward her. She placed it gently in a receiver. The room changed. A soft light covered the walls, showing moving pictures. They weren't just images, they were memories. Eli saw a familiar face. It was Saraya, but younger, without a crown. Her eyes were softer, her smile less guarded. "She looks like you," Eli said quietly. "It is me," Saraya replied. From long ago, in the memory, she stood beside another figure, a man tall, human-looking, with the same glowing mark on his chest that Eli now carried. Eli stepped forward. "Who is that?" Saraya's voice was quiet. "His name was Kale. He came from the stars, like you." The memory showed Kale and Saraya walking together, standing before a glowing object, the same bracelet, now in Ellie's arm. "He was not from your Earth," she explained, "but from a world that no longer exists, a world that tried to protect peace, but failed." Eli watched in silence. Kale and Saraya had been close, more than just allies. "He gave up everything to stop a darkness," she said softly. "But in the end, he disappeared. We believe the heart of stars went silent because of his loss." Eli looked at her. "And now I'm here, with the same mark, with the same bracelet." "Yes," she said, meeting his eyes. "And I don't think that's an accident." The memory faded. The room returned to stillness. Before either of them could speak, the wall near them flashed red. An alert. A signal. Someone had entered the city. Saraya moved quickly, touching a control panel. A small map appeared. A ship had landed unauthorized at the edge of the capital. "The council," she said. "They've brought someone they believe can solve this human mystery." Eli frowned. "What does that mean?" "They want answers, and some of them fear you. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you might become." A soft knock came from the door. One of Saraya's trusted guards entered quietly. His face was calm, but his eyes held concern. "My queen," he said, "they've requested your presence, and they demand the human join as well." Saraya looked at Eli. "Are you ready?" Eli took a breath. "I don't know, but I'll go." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "No matter what happens in that chamber, you are not alone." Together, they walked toward the council hall. The corridors were empty. Even the lights seemed dimmer. Every step felt heavier than the last. As they entered the large round room, Saraya walked ahead, proud and calm. Eli followed, wearing the glowing bracelet, his heart steady but uncertain. 12 council members sat in high chairs, their robes flowing, their eyes sharp. One stood up, speaking clearly. "We have reviewed the events. The human has touched ancient power. He now wears a device no Obari could ever awaken. And now strange energy moves through the capital." Another council member added, "This is no coincidence. We must understand what he is. And if he brings danger." Soraya raised her voice, calm but firm. "He has done nothing but exist. He has shown us nothing but curiosity and peace. But peace is not enough," one elder said. "We must be sure." Then, from the shadows, a new figure stepped forward, dressed in silver robes, eyes cold. Not a council member. Soraya's breath caught for a moment. "You." Eli looked at her. "Who is he?" She didn't answer right away. Her voice was low. "Someone I hope would never return." The man stepped forward. "I have come for the human. I know what he is, and what he holds inside him." The bracelet on Ellie's wrist pulsed again, brighter than ever, and in that moment, Eli knew the final answers were close, but so were the greatest questions. The chamber grew silent. After the stranger spoke, his voice still echoed faintly against the crystal walls. Everyone in the council hall stared at him, but he looked only at Eli. Queen Soraya stood tall beside Eli. Her eyes didn't blink. Her voice stayed calm, but her heart was heavy. She knew this moment would come, just not so soon. The stranger walked slowly across the polished floor. He was older than he appeared. His silver robes moved without sound, and his presence carried weight like someone from a forgotten age. He stopped just a few steps away from Eli. "Your presence awakens more than you realize," he said softly. "The light inside you does not belong only to you. It belongs to something greater." Eli kept his voice steady. "I don't understand." "You will," the stranger said. "But first, you must choose." Queen Soraya stepped forward. "He doesn't owe you anything." The stranger turned to her. "You feel something for him. I see that. But feelings cannot stop what has already started." Eli looked at Soraya. "What is he talking about?" Soraya looked down, then back at him. "Your energy, your connection to the heart of stars, is not just from now, it's from before. Long before you were ever born." The stranger nodded. "He carries the spark of Kale, the first light bearer. That spark was lost for centuries, and now, it's in him." One of the council members finally spoke again. "If this is true, then he holds something powerful, something that could bring balance, or break it." Another voice added, "We cannot ignore the signs. The stars have shifted. The ancient map has returned. The systems have awakened." Eli took a step back. "I'm just a person. I didn't ask for any of this." Soraya turned to him. "But you are here now, and that means something. You've already changed this world just by standing in it." The stranger moved his hand, and a small light appeared above his palm. It showed a vision of a faraway place, stars spinning around a single, glowing structure. "A gateway, a bridge between galaxies. This is what you must open," he said. "Only your light can unlock it." Eli stared at the image. It looked familiar again, like something from his dreams. "What happens if I open it?" he asked. "Everything will remember," the stranger said. "Your past, our past, the forgotten voices of the galaxy. They will rise again." Soraya looked at the council. "But only if he chooses it." Eli stood quiet for a moment. The bracelet on his wrist pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. His chest felt warm. The light inside him was calm, not loud, not dangerous, just alive. He turned to Soraya. "If I do this, what happens to us?" Her answer was simple. "Nothing can erase the bond we've made. Not time, not distance." He nodded. "Slowly, then I'll go. I'll open the gateway. But I won't do it alone." Soraya stepped beside him. "And you won't have to." The council gave a single nod. They could not argue with the signs. Later, in the main launch chamber of the palace, a new ship waited. It was ancient in design, but had been rebuilt using the power of the heart of stars. Its engine glowed softly golden, like Ellie's mark. As Eli stepped aboard, Soraya stood beside the ship. "You were never just a visitor," she said. "You were the beginning of something new." Eli smiled gently. So were you. The door closed slowly. The ship lifted off the ground, quiet and graceful. The palace watched in silence as it rose higher, then vanished into the stars from her window. Soraya placed a hand on the glass. A soft light danced across her palm. She knew she would see him again. Above the planet, the stars opened like a path. The old map inside Ellie's mind came alive. The ship followed it without hesitation. And far ahead, the ancient gateway glowed brighter than ever before. As Eli approached, the bracelet on his wrist lit up fully. A symbol formed in the stars, one that hadn't been seen in thousands of years. Then, slowly, the gate opened. Not with sound, but with feeling. A warmth spread across space. A new beginning had arrived. And somewhere deep in the universe, voices began to whisper again. The light has returned.